Hello, everyone. Welcome to Dome Fest West Fulldome Forums. Welcome to our Fulldome Forum. The topic today is Advanced Acoustic Strategies for Immersive Venues. This is a really awesome deep dive into delivering immersive audio in immersive venues, particularly Fulldome theaters. I'd like to first let you guys know that Dome Fest West, our annual film festival, is coming up May 1st through 4th at Fisk Planetarium in Boulder, Colorado. We really have an awesome lineup of films, panels, and exhibitors to share with you. And it's looking to be a sellout festival. So sign up now and don't miss out. I'd like to introduce the moderator today, Dome Fest West Executive Director, Ryan Moore. And Ryan, take it away.
All right, great. Well, yes, today we are starting a conversation about audio in immersive venues. And this is kind of a two-part conversation. This is the first of two parts. This conversation here on today, March 6th, is focused primarily on Fulldome or immersive venues technologies, the hardware aspects, some of the software aspects, but essentially what goes into cabinets or is in the back AV booth, helping make sure that these experiences are presented with the best audio possible that allows not just the audience to hear what's being on screen, but also to feel the sound interact with the experience that they have either surrounding them or in front of them. So we've got two really fantastic presenters and experts here in this field. The first one that we're going to go ahead and start off with is Tiffany Lovard. Tiffany is an expert and a strategic product leader with over a decade of experience working in just innovative audio. She was the global project manager for a small company called Beats by Dre, and then later Apple when it was taken over. You may have heard of it. And then she has been at the forefront of launching a number of multiple products that have won awards for different celebrities and athletes. One of them, will.i.am, and his very awesome focus on audio technology. She was helping that actually take place. And now she's focusing on advancing immersive audio technologies for AI, AR, and audio rendering, and also just to the goal of transformative sound experiences. So we're excited to have her share her experience as well as a number of insights and case studies that she's had the ability to have access to. Tiffany, go ahead and come on if you would not mind. And yeah, everyone, Tiffany Lovard, give her a round of applause. Tiffany, take it away.
Good morning, Ryan. Thanks so much for having me. And Ed, it's a pleasure. Hello, everyone out there. Lovely to meet everyone and be acquainted with this wonderful group of future-forward thinkers, especially in the audiovisual space. Fun fact, I actually worked for a number of years at LA Center Studios where Ed had one of his Vortex domes downstairs. I never actually got to go in it, sadly, but that was a major oversight. I was busy working on augmented reality for the defense sector. Apologies, Ed. But it is an absolute pleasure to be here. I wanted to start today a little differently and just think about broad strokes, why audio is so important. My counterpart, Tom, is going to do a deep dive into, the way that he develops for Fulldome specifically. I'll take it a little bit higher level and then talk a little bit about what I'm working on, why it's different than traditional spatial audio. What is spatial audio? That gets thrown around a lot, but try asking two audio engineers or two sound designers, and they'll give you two definitions, I swear. So let me pull up my visual aid here. One moment. All right, can you guys see my screen?
Yeah, it's coming through. I think a little. Oh, there it is. Nope, we're all good. Thank you.
All right. All right. So, the importance of sound perception, you guys, I'm sure, are not new to this, but it is our fastest sense, 140 milliseconds. That means that the audio is going to be reaching your audiences before the visuals. So that is an incredible opportunity to prime your audiences for what mind-blowing visuals they're about to see. Our hearing actually uses fewer synaptic connections than our visuals do. So our brain is processing all of this information in real time, basically so that, that lion doesn't come and eat us and surprise us from the back rear. So that has deep evolutionary impacts for us. And so today that gives us an opportunity to hijack all, thousands of years of evolution to create these incredible, deep, emotional, and oftentimes subconscious experiences for audiences. And so one of the pieces pieces of advice I would give to anyone creating these full 360 experiences is that it's not only thinking about the source of sound, it's thinking about the sound stage. It's thinking about the entire acoustic environment. So just like a painter wouldn't just think about, hanging their work on the gallery wall, they would think about the frame, they would think about the lighting, they would think about, the distance the audience will be from the piece, the height on the wall. All of that has impact into how it comes across and the narrative that the artist is intending. So again, I'm sure none of this is new to you, but I always like to start off with, why is this so important? Why do I care so much about it? Why should other people care about it? It's done well. It's not always obvious. And so I think taking a minute to call it out is important. So a little bit about what I've been working on and how we got here. So we think about stereo, left, right. We think about spatial audio. And when I say spatial audio, when I think most individuals in this space say it, we're thinking about object or multi-channel spatial audio, where you have, a three-dimensional space, and then within that space, you have sound sources that are specifically targeted and have, an X, Y, and Z axis where you can pinpoint that. And perhaps they're fixed in space, perhaps they're whizzing around the audience, but they have, that particular location within three-dimensional space. Place-based spatial audio is what I've been working on, which is the yin to object-based is yang. So what we do is we work with, we created a new math essentially to complete the acoustic environment, to say object-based, great, multi-channel, great. Let's take that and let's understand what the canvas around that is. So can we give you that complementary sense of space, that acoustic fingerprint that every real world space has? And that's what we've been working on. We've been actually capturing real live spaces, and then we have a real-time rendering engine that allows us to actually spatialize audio in an incredibly authentic way in real time. So no more formats. This isn't trying to replace Dolby Atmos. This isn't trying to replace Sony 360 RA. We're very complementary in a way that isn't currently being used by anyone else. This is our proprietary patented technology. We're calling it Real Room, And the kind of under the hood is transfer functions and quadvolution and all of these great things that that create this really authentic sense of space. So again, like I'd say, it's not object based, it's not head tracked, but it goes really well with those things. And the key takeaway that I would just love for you guys to have is thinking in layers. So as you are designing or working with sound designers to create your audio experience for your audiences, think about the type of events that you're doing and the layering and how you can leverage different types of content and regardless of how sophisticated the content is. That was our goal, is even if it's in stereo, we can still make it better. We can still give it that sense of immersion by saying, okay, this visual place that we're trying to take you to, we're also going to take you there acoustically. Now, that might include also a bullet whizzing by your head or, beeping sounds over here. But that is in addition to this enveloped sense of space. So thinking about how this applies to full domes, obviously it is we had more pro and consumer personal audio in mind, but that doesn't mean it's exclusive to it. So anytime you have someone in a seat or either with headphones, that is an opportunity to create that immersive experience from wherever they are. So thinking about installing it in speakers in the seat, or thinking about even having wireless or wired headphones if they're seated. Those are two opportunities that you could implement this type of technology. And there's a lot of cool things you could do with it. You could recreate music venues. One of my favorite ideas is you could go and capture the Troubadour, for example, and play from any sound source. You could play Elton John and, imagine that you're there listening to Elton John play his first North American concert in the Troubadour. And it would actually sound like you're in that venue. Now for domes, this gives you the ability to then control the size of your virtual venue. You can, leverage the entire space. You can make it feel 10 times bigger. You can make it feel like an intimate jazz club or a space station or a submarine. You can have that sense, even though you're in a cavernous environment that it is traditionally acoustically challenging, you still have the opportunity to make it feel cozy without necessarily, recreating it physically in real time. So that is the exciting bit for me, is being able to dynamically adjust to make the content as immersive as possible, but still being social, but still getting that, experience with the person next to you. It's still that beautiful collective of people getting to experience it together without compromising immersion. So I hope you enjoyed this conversation, and I think we'll move on.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much, Tiffany. If anyone has questions around some of the points that Tiffany hit, please go ahead and use the Q&A function here in the Zoom app. It may be buried depending on how big your window is, so you might need to hit the little more button. But there is a great Q&A function in there. And so you could go ahead and add questions or upvote other people's questions. And we will come back to Tiffany and Tom here after Tom's presentation and be able to answer your exact questions. So Tiffany, thank you so much. Lau, we will get to you momentarily. If you don't mind throwing your question into the Q&A, that's the best way to get it answered here in a bit. But for now, we're going to, bring up Tom. And I've got a little slide here introducing Tom. Tom has been doing some amazing things, and yes, very strategically in the full dome space. He is a pioneer in spatial audio and the founder and visionary of new audio technology. Starting as a music producer, he's been working on tools for a long time, and has had his tools used in things like Lucasfilm's Red Tails, as well as his amazing skills being featured in Stargate, Million Dollar Baby, and most notably Kraftwerk's 3D The Catalog, which earned him a Grammy nomination. We love that. Awesome stuff. So, Tom, other than leading conferences and speaking at different places, you're here with us. So, I would love to turn it on over to you and take it away.
Thank you very much, Ryan. Yeah, so I'm very happy being here, talk a little bit about the spatial audio stuff we do. Now I have to do the screen sharing. Let me find the right button. Here, looks good. All right, okay. Now you should see my PowerPoint. And a big thank you to Tiffany, because she talked a little bit about the psychoacoustic stuff. So that, and this is really, really true, and this is also my experience, that audio is really creating the emotion. It has a reason why George Lucas said that 50% of the movie, of the film, is the audio, and why he created Skywalker Sound, so mainly audio studio. So with spatial audio, what makes or increase the emotional impact much more, we have the possibility to make the shows much more immersive, but just by doing this immersive. Okay, this as a little introduction. So you know everything about me. Ryan told you everything. Just one slide to the new audio technology, my company. I founded it in 2012, and Ryan already mentioned Skywalker Sound used it for Red Tails. And in 2012, we created an immersive audio engine, a middleware for Unreal, but we still not use it, but we work on this to use it pretty soon for Dome, interactive Dome applications. We started in 2018 to install processors. In 2012, the Spatial Audio Designer was a plugin. And since 2018, we do a lot of installations in a lot of planetariums, LED domes, theaters, and so on. And here is, let's say, it's a little family, the couple, the Spatial Audio Designer plugin and the processors, based on my experience creating immersive audio right at the beginning in 2009. I did my first immersive audio mixes, and I drove crazy working with the objects dynamically in the space. At that time, I worked with auxiliaries, sending to this one and this one, creating my paintings, and you drive crazy. And at that time, I saw we need urgently new tools, and then we developed the Spatial Audio Designer plugin, and then the processor followed. Okay, we know where we are. I'm talking today more about the venue side, so the processor who is managing the audio on site. The creation tool, the plugin. Hopefully, I can talk about this in the other forum on the 10th of April. And but today it's more about the processor. Oh yeah, there's a new guy in town, so we have a new event domain, event space or size. So it is huge. I hope many of you have seen it. I was lucky. I was there for the premiere of U2, and 2 days later, postcards from Earth. It's amazing. And the Sphere has a huge, big loudspeaker system, really, really made for all the applications they still do and they plan in this application. And so yeah, so we have a lot of things to do with audio. There are plenty applications also for domes. And also, if you not do this today, I'm pretty sure if you have a dome or if you're an operator or owner, you will do it in the future. And I see here in all the installations we did, many, many different applications. So there are, of course, the traditional astro and star shows, but there's a lot of edutainment. We have radio plays in Germany where you just hear something, but spatial audio. It's very famous. A lot of people are here. It's yeah, successful, very successful. You have movies, concerts, more and more concerts in the Sphere, of course, but also in other domes and incentives, dining. So yeah, it's also an application you can make money with. So why not doing this, offering this? And of course, art installations and interactive stuff. So there's a lot of things what's going on and what is possible in planetariums, in domes. I bring it a little bit together, domes and planetariums. But there are also challenges. And one of those is, of course, uh, uh, normally, well, if you have a 5.1, it's more or less formatted. But if you want to go spatial, then you more and more leaving the area of formats like stereo 5.1, 714, what is used by Dolby Atmos, for example, as a monitoring format. And so you have to deal with this with larger loudspeaker systems, and many of them are configured very custom made, so very different. And you have to deal with the problem that, for example, at the sides, it gets a little bit tricky. So for the people who sit at the side of the dome for the show, and you have to deal with this also a little bit. You have so many sources. You have the output from your Digistar, maybe from the custom Digistar or from the audio workstation. Maybe you want to play a DVD player or send in the Skype return because you have a discussion or presentation. Somebody is jumping in from outside, like this here online. And you also want to play something. So somebody is offering stereo, someone is 5.1, somebody did an Ambisonic mix and rendered at 10.1 or 10.2 or whatever. And you need to play this in any way. There are interactive applications like you have a video source, what is moving, and you want to pinpoint the audio to the video source that it is following this. This is could be an interactive scenario. So you need real-time processing with this, panning and audio processing, and maybe also reverb if you have art installations, but also concerts. 3D reverbs are very important, and 3D is better because it sounds more natural and then it's more emotional. So yeah, I'd like to give you a quick introduction. What we did provide with the Spatial Audio Designer processor to deal with all these issues on site. So this is, let's say, well, this is what I, of course, sell. It's a Swiss Army knife for dome audio because it helps you to manage a lot of input and output counts. So if you have a big loudspeaker system, you may need a lot of outputs. And if you have a lot of sources, maybe also a mixing console because you do live stuff and all the others, the other playback stuff, you need a lot of I/Os. The system has up to 128 I/O, and the current version, later version will have more. You need a monitoring, so you want to hear, is something coming out from that loudspeaker or from that group, or how does it sound without that loudspeaker or without that group? Very important, especially for the sound check and for the tuning of the system. And you may want to render to different places in your environment. Let's say you have your main dome, but maybe you also have the ticket counter, and maybe you have an exhibition on site also along this. And you want to hear just a little bit what happens from the dome, or just playing some moods from space, something like that. And you want to feed this, and this is a totally different loudspeaker configuration. The system allows you to feed everybody interactively or individual. So this is just getting the space mood, and this is just a mix down from what happens in the dome, the ticket counter. So this is a very important, and also for such a tool. So this is it's important to have this, and of course, it needs to be speaker agnostic. So, however, what kind of speaker brand should work. The system I mentioned before should be able to deal with different input formats. So, however, it is one of these traditional formats, but also maybe something bigger, you have to, you need the opportunity, the possibility to manage it on your given loudspeaker system, also if it is larger. Let's say somebody sent you a 30.4 mix from another dome, but you just have 20.4. So you need the possibility to render this format on your dome as well, and it's possible because it's kind of static object group what you get with this mix, and you can place it accordingly, and then it's rendered to your loudspeaker configuration. This should be possible. You need effect returns if you want to use reverbs or upmix tools. It's possible. There is a slide later. This is very important. An upmix tool helps you to enhance or to extend stereo mix. So if you have good stereo mix, you can send just 2 channels in. The upmix tool is doing something a little bit voodoo inside, and voila, you have the output is 714 with, and your stereo mix sounds much larger. This is a pretty cool feature. If you can do this, and for that you need such buses, and the zone management is what I mentioned. This is helpfully to manage these. You remember also the bad seeds want to have fun. So managing this problem, speech intelligibility, for example, at the very side. This is where you need, we call it zone management, helping to bring the speech of a narrator or of somebody who's on the stage also to the baddest seat in the room, as good as that everybody understand what's going on there. The system needs to be or can record. That helps a lot to, let's say you want to do a rehearsal from a concert, you want to record it, you want to play it, you want to do a sound check. This is possible, but also recording automation. You want to have on cue and automation at a certain point from a playback source or from a live source. And this is possible as well with this tool, and this is very important for a lot of applications. Of course, it's PCM full resolution, and this is the next slide. You can play it. So you can play what you record instantly from the cue player. We call it the cue player because on cue, you can shoot every format. Could be the recorded object-based format, but also WAV files or Dolby Atmos ADMs. ADM is, for those who not know this, ADM is let's say the standard master file format for immersive audio, especially or mainly Dolby Atmos. And the player allows you to shoot OOC commands, and everything is besides the live input. So if you have a lot of clips you want to play differently or on cue, they do not occupy the input. It would be terrible if you have a lot of live inputs and then you want to play something and it's occupy an input you had before. This shouldn't happen, and this is what happened with this player here. Of course, you need control. So if you have a show from Digistar, it has to be synced to this show and to the video of Digistar, maybe also to the audio. And the the Q player or what you play, the audio, the spatial audio needs to be synced to what's going on, and this is possible because the processor offers an ATC reader writer, and you have the possibility to control the processor with OC. OC is Open Sound Control. I think this is the abbreviation. So it's a very common free format used in the audio industry, but also in Lightning. So it's a very good communication protocol. Okay, I think this is okay here. And this is one of the final slides. You have the possibility to use 3D reverbs, upmix tools, what I said. You can use regular available plugins in the market. So if you found a VST plugin, what you really love, and you want to have this for a live input, or to play, you want to play everything what you have through this tool to make it larger, cooler, whatever, it's possible because the bus structure in the Spatial Audio Designer allows you to insert this, send everything through, and the return is on your given loudspeaker configuration. Now, what I mentioned before, we have a game engine connection. We work on this to also make it available for the processor, but the game engine can control objects and send objects to the processor, and it's moving around depending on what happens interactively in the game engine. And finally, we also offer binaural processing. Tiffany touched this a little bit, and our binaural processing, right from the beginning in 2012, we had a binaural processing. So binaural processing means on regular headphones, you hear your content. It sounds like you hear it on a real loudspeaker system. This is our approach. It's not externalization you hear in the Apple world and in the Dolby Atmos world. It's more. So we put you into a real professional studio or in a real dome because we measured the domes. Right. So, okay, this is the slide I mentioned before. So, yeah, so the next step is, here is a tool, here is the idea and the strategy to work in your dome with everything what you have in spatial audio. However, you have 20, 10, 5, 100 loudspeakers, it works always. And in the forum at the 10th of April, maybe I can talk there as well. Then I will also show a little bit how to work in the studio at home, preparing immersive audio from the place where you used to work in spatial audio in your audio workstation. So not in an extra studio or with a huge bunch of new software tools, just keeping you in the place where you normally create music or audio. I'm talking about the music position, the audio producer. And this is where the plugin comes in. And this is also where you create the content for the Spatial Audio Designer reproduction, but also for reproduction if you have a dome, hopefully not so many, who has not a Spatial Audio Designer, who just work with some spatial audio, with a digital audio workstation or something like that. Okay, here again, a couple, and this is our website. If you have any further question, I'm happy to answer a lot of questions here. Hopefully there are a lot. I would say, Ryan, thank you very much. I hope I didn't talk too much. I tried to shorten it, but well, I can talk about this hours.
Well, great job. Thank you so much, Tom. And yeah, no, we'll get to a number of questions. We see already one by Joe Witt asking if there are any venues in the LA area that they could hear examples of Real Room. And Tiffany went ahead and answered that. Tiffany, do you want to just expound on that, or essentially just people need to reach out directly?
Yeah, absolutely. So, our model right now is we work with large scale, OEMs and brands. So we're B2B, but happy, Joe, and anyone else who wants to check it out. I'm actually in the LA area. So please reach out to me, and Yeah, it's always difficult to describe how amazing audio will sound, right? It's like, picture this. um, but when you really experience it firsthand, it's mind blowing. It really is. It's you put on these headphones or you sit down and close your eyes and you can hear this, you can feel the sticky floor of the club, and you can hear the mirror behind the bar and the reverberation. It's really incredible.
Cool. I could see that, Tiffany, coming in handy. Some audio perfectionists will actually mix sound in the dome that they're distributing to, because some domes have very unique sound systems, as Tom well knows. And there's been papers published on that. But
That's a great point. One of the early partners that we had was Stephen Slate, and developing the VSX with him, and that was exactly the application, was going and modeling really high-end studios, but also shitty car stereos and Bluetooth speakers in kitchens, and because you never know what your playback environment is going to be and look like. So as a creator, being able to interrogate your own mixes with just the click of a button and not having to do the car test, right? You don't have to burn that CD and bring it out to the car and check it out. You could do it now virtually, but with incredible precision. So the efficiency gains are huge.
That's
and the
great. So let's say I was doing a mix for the Hayden Planetarium in New York City. What would it take for them to characterize their theater such that I could, instead of going to New York City to do a mix, that I could put on headphones and actually get a pretty good idea of what my content would sound like in that venue?
Well, Hayden would just call me, and we'd measure their venue, but more importantly, their venue and their existing audio reproduction system, because you can't separate the two, right? So we would be modeling the experience, the acoustic experience of being there and hearing their existing system in their existing environment.
Right. So each theater could essentially have a file that characterizes their venue so that the producers could check their production and how it would sound in that venue.
Exactly. And our magic is that we have, our core rendering, a real-time rendering engine, and then we have the ability to add on that flavor of that real live venue. So we say, okay, we've got, this rendering engine, and we're going to plug in Hayden Planetarium, or we're going to plug in car, or we're going to, add on these filters so that it's independent of format. It's real time, and it's any audio stream.
Can you also see an application like I remember Sonics IMAX had a personal sound environment where they actually delivered I think it was like binaural audio using speakers built into the chair itself. Could you so in terms of an authoring tool, let's say I had a dome show and I'm in a large room or a particular environment that I'm trying to simulate acoustically. Is that something that you would be able to apply your content to as well? In other words, simulating different acoustic environments for the purpose of production. Just
Absolutely. Yeah, so there's two ways that you could apply it in that scenario. For the content creator, you could absolutely develop a way that you could reproduce, use your using to create your content, and then be able to check and to hear how it's going to sound in that environment with that sound setup. So that's one way. And then also in the actual chair itself with the existing hardware, as long as we've got those two speakers, we can, use our real-time rendering engine, essentially our DSP plus to create that experience that just uses psychoacoustics to make that individual feel like they are there.
Very cool.
Very, very
Great
cool.
question, Ed.
So we've been hearing about speaker arrays. The Sphere has got this legendary multi-million speaker array through Holoplot, which they ended up buying. Could each of you maybe share a few minutes on just how do you feel spatial audio and immersive speaker arrays are currently contributing to the effectiveness of storytelling in dome and contemporary venue environments? Maybe Tom, you go first, and then we'll throw to Tiffany.
Well, I would say, well, as close it is to the reality, to a real or hyper real feeling, as more emotional it is, and as more you elevate the experience of the show, whatever you do. And to do this, of course, you need let's say, a certain number of loudspeakers who placed accordingly, and a tool what is managing everything. But the most important thing is, let's say you have this, let's say this basics. The most important thing is content. So you need good content. If you have a good content from an experienced producer, then you're really blown away by the experience. So the environments are the loudspeaker configuration, as well as the quality of the loudspeakers makes a lot. So I always say, or mostly say, use less loudspeakers, but better and larger loudspeakers than a lot of loudspeakers, but the tiny ones. Don't do that. This is not good. It's not a good result.
I mean, unless you're going for a lot of distortion and
Exactly.
yeah, a lot of crosstalk, all kinds of weird
The small
artifacts.
speakers sound small, so you don't want to hear that.
It's true. I come from the perspective that sure, you can have bigger and more loudspeakers, or you can get closer to the person.
Yes.
Right. So like those are the spectrum. And with the the cost now, it's so cheap to get these transducers, high quality transducers. It's in drivers. It's so, and haptic feedback. The technology is getting so accessible and so cheap that, combined with the proper software and the proper ability to render that beautiful content that Tom mentioned, I really am excited for this next generation of thinkers and of people coming up in this, because it's new palette, right? Like it's not just about taking this existing content and just slapping on some 3D glasses and calling it spatial. It's about thinking spatially.
I tell you, my next presentation on the AES in Warsaw is, the title is Immersive Audio. Stereo plus effect is not enough.
Exactly. And it's not that
that's not enough.
It's just leaving so much on the table.
Erica has a question that ties into this. And she's asking about speaker placement in domes, especially pop-up domes, where you don't have a perforated aluminum screen with the speakers behind the screen. Typically, you end up putting the speakers around the perimeter of the dome. And, how do you deal with the cross bouncing of the sound and everything? And I'll just relate, we did a project in Joshua Tree with Childish Gambino, and it was a 160-foot inflatable structure. And it was actually a very, like a PVC membrane, inflatable membrane that we projected onto, very reflective of sound. They came in with some large speaker arrays, as you would in a concert, kind of got them up into the imagery, which, was such a large dome, it wasn't that actually distracting. But the sound went across to the back of the dome and just reflected. And you could stand in the dome and clap, and it would be like 5-second reverb or whatever. So I mean, there's maybe two ways to deal with that, and that is, maybe Tom, you would be maybe using speakers that didn't splash so much sound up on the dome or whatever. But then I could also see Tiffany saying, no, just do the silent disco thing and give everyone headphones and you'd have perfect sound. So I don't know if you want to bounce that one around a little bit.
No pun intended.
Yeah. It's a huge issue with this acoustics in some of these spaces.
Of course, if you use headphones, you don't have a problem because you have no reflection. So
if your goal is to make someone feel like they're not in a dome, I think there are a few tricks you can do. I've heard, aiming it up strategically at the dome, and then, I mean, Tom, you can speak to this much more fluently, but again, I'd say with give everyone headphones. They're cheap. You can get really great quality for pennies, and if it's a pop-up, and it's
you do have Yeah, just interject. The dome has imagery around you, and people aren't always looking straight ahead. So if you have objects moving on the dome that you want a sound to track, you would also have, I suppose, head tracking, right? So if someone's looking over here, the sound stays in its position relative to the imagery. That I guess that's a little more complicated, eh?
It's that's a great question, and it's important if your content is cinematic, if you've got moving content. If it's music, I actually really hate head tracking for music and object tracking for music, because you are messing with the mix. You are messing with the artist's intent.
No,
you are just like they created it and they mixed it, and they, it's not intended to be separated into different parts. And I just feel strongly against head tracking for music per se. But for cinema, it's great.
I think Tom's agreeing.
Oh yeah, 100% agree. So I also always put the head tracking on my iPhone off, because this is I think the main problem for me personally, the main problem is not that the mix is distracted or destroyed. So the artistic intent, I think, is not that, for me, it's not the big issue, but it is unrealistical. So it is, your brain said something is totally wrong here. So if you have a movie, you look to the movie, it looks better. But if you listen to music without visual cues, because your brain uses also your eyes to listen, and especially to localize, and then if this is not there, so your brain said something is totally wrong here, it doesn't sound well, so it's not a pleasure. So I hate it as well. Also in professional applications, I'm not a fan of head tracking. And coming back to the beginning of your question, so in the Sphere, they have a pretty clever strategy, because, as you know, they use this holoplot system, and the holoplot system can really beam the audio to the audience, and just to the audience. They can make it that the sound is very, very less directed to the ceiling. So that way you have, if you are in the Sphere, it is surprisingly dry. You don't hear so many reflections. Of course, they have treatment behind the screen, of course, but because of this projection strategy, and that was intended, they don't have a lot of reflections. Sounds amazing good. And this is, and you mentioned it at the beginning as well, you can deal with this evil reflections by narrowing the angle, the delivery angle of the loudspeaker. This is one possibility. But finally, you cannot trick physics. Physics are physics, and you have to deal with that in a certain way. And you're right, in an inflatable dome, you cannot really put a speaker to the top. What you could do, you could do it on stands if you want, for if you want to have a height layer. But normally, you just have the possibility to put something around the audience. And this can be fun as well. And you're right, you have to care about the reflections. I would say put some damping, but there's a screen. You cannot put damping on it.
Yeah, there was one project, Ian Downey, who's on joined us, can talk more about it, but we actually did for a Vulcan for Paul Allen's company, a holodome. And now, in that case, we had an internal negative pressure screen that sucks up into place. And we actually characterized the screen material acoustically, and it rolled off like 6 dB per decade kind of a thing. So we built custom cabinets that boosted the high end, in order to push the sound through that fabric screen, essentially. And in a geodesic dome, of course, you can hang projectors behind that screen, and in inflatables, a lot of inflatables, you can have attachment points and attached speakers, and then have the inflatable screen, behind it. But you still have, it depends on the screen material too, though. There's screen materials that are more absorptive, that it's less reflective. Yeah.
The other thing you can do is what Tiffany already explained, start to create the stuff in a virtual environment. This is our main approach. We started in 2012 offering virtual studios to create a mix with regular headphones without head tracking. And to tweak and to prepare the show, knowing there is maybe a problem with the reflections, and then going on site, connect exactly the same mix from your audio workstation directly to the loudspeakers, check how does it work, do we have to tune it a little bit, and to make it work as best as possible in this environment. So this is what we recommend. So work with it. Try to make it as best as possible with this environment. Yeah,
that's great. Well, that leads us into another question here from One Atmosphere. He's asking about solutions for VR/XR experiences, and also is asking, are there solutions like for a Unity game engine, for instance? And that I suppose that's maybe a production technique, if you will, to produce, like one thing we were looking at is attaching sounds to different 3D objects, right, and somehow rendering that out, maybe using Tiffany's, or to whatever sound system you have, but yeah, just any more discussion about that?
Unity and Unreal, they support spatial audio. They have their own. They have their own support internally for it. So what I would say is, if you wanted to create it in Unity or Unreal, you can do that already. If you want to create, something even better or something on top of that, you can. You're not just limited to what Unity and Unreal already support. But that's definitely possible. And just to go back really quickly to the dome conversation around, especially Ed, what you said, the different materials, there's almost, with time and money, you can do anything, right? Like, so my biggest piece of advice is just think about it from the day one. Don't even do yourself a favor and think of it as an acoustic experience with visuals. I mean, I'm a little biased, but but think of it that way. And that way, it's not something it's not a problem to solve. It's an experience that you're sharing, and you're going to have fewer issues with the visuals than you will with trying to adapt the audio to your visuals. So start with the audio, then build the visuals on top of that.
That's actually rare in this industry, I have to say.
We're visual beasts. We're visual animals. But I guarantee you, if you do that, then you will just have a much smoother time. And it won't be an afterthought. It won't be how great, now how do I figure this out? This is something that, let's start with this and let's get it where we like it, and then add in the visuals to highlight that experience and to match it, because you can do a lot more with that, with moving that around. Because as Tom said, physics are physics, and you can deconstruct and construct waveforms all you like, but especially when you've got, two sensors walking around times how many people in your audience, it's hard to give everyone that same experience.
Maybe let me pick up here the point with the Unity, because I saw the comment, the question as well. So my experience is I heard a lot of that Unity and Unreal can do spatial audio, but I ask a lot of people, and it's not easy to do. It's not, so it's Ambisonics or not, it's Dolby Atmos or not, and the plugin is not working. So it's very difficult to make spatial audio in the. I talked to I forgot his name, but the main guy from Audio Kinetic, WeWise, in Tokyo on the AES game conference. He said everything is working, no problem. You have to do this and this, and I tried look for it. So. Okay, no, okay, no, really, and so it is. There's a lot of fog, so it's not really clear, and this is the reason why we think about to make a better implementation or way to work with the audio objects and with the OSC commands in a DOM interactively with such a processor, for example.
Yeah, and again, going back to spatial audio versus place-based audio. What we're working on is a lot of them use very, basic HRTF, head-related transfer functions. And it's like saying, oh, yeah, my Casio keyboard has a cathedral button. I've got that. like checkbox. Moving on.
Exactly.
Oh,
exactly. That's the point.
8-bit. We're good. We don't need
all
to
this binary stuff. It's a checkbox design. You're totally right. So we can do it. Yeah, we can do it.
Moving on.
Yeah, nobody cares about how the quality is. It convincing? Is not convincing? Yeah, and if you tell the people it's cool, then yeah, and if you tell the people it's cool, they think it's cool, and they say it's cool, but not really convinced. So especially if you compare it to something else, then you oh, okay, now I understand it's different. So
yeah, well, that's the thing. It's like the Wizard of Oz. You step out and you didn't know that a rainbow was possible when all you've seen is black and white. So. So being able to experience it, how do you describe to someone what 4K is when all they've seen is 8-bit? How do you describe what this level of resolution is when you have no reference point? So expose yourself to these new technologies. I know I'm saying that, and I don't have a public demo, but reach out because these things are pretty incredible. Go to as many shows as you can. Go to Fulldome, the conference in May.
Yeah,
100%.
Well, this kind of actually hits on a question from Joe Witt, and actually, I would love to hear from everyone, Ed, you included. But what shows, and we'll talk about recent award winners because there are award winners. But just in your opinion, what shows? Probably doesn't have to be a planetarium film, can be a regular film or a music show, but what has had the best kind of example of fantastic immersive audio? Tiffany, let's start you, Ed, and then we'll go to Tom.
Ooh. Audio. Been so busy doing my own thing. I'm not checking out what other people are doing. No.
Well, you work with different musicians, right? And there's I'm curious, in the music industry, what's going on with spatial. I guess it's mostly Atmos, right? Is the kind of the standard.
Sony 360 RA. I recently was able to go into their studios and get my profile, and what they do is they actually take measurements and create a personal HRTF. And my thinking on that is, I already have 2 ears. Why do you need to tell me what my ears should be hearing? But that's another side. It is incredible though. Like what they are developing it's not scalable, at least in my estimation, to measure everyone with that level of precision. but it's incredible what they're doing and the artists that they're working with.
So the HRTF, is that sort of like binaural, where the properties of your ear are being characterized to deliver?
Exactly. So the properties of your ear, the location, the reflectiveness of your pinna and your ear canal, all of that. And when you're wearing headphones, you're going to have a different experience, right? So they're trying to account for that.
Because I remember the dummy heads, with the microphones in the ears, right?
The Neumanns
This is a real-time HRTF recording, you can say. But you're right. So binaural is always HRTFs. Sorry.
I'm going to drop a link to a really great low-end binaural. It's 3DO, and I've used them just for capture. Pretty good. It's not fantastic, but they got little silicone ears, and they do a good job for capturing audio. But we're still talking about shows. So Tiffany said unreleased, but she's heard some good things. Ed, let's go to you. Any show specifically you could point out, and if you're still thinking, I can give an example.
I know we've had some at Dome Fest West, or is it the Best of Earth, best audio production? So I know there's been some winners, but I guess. No, I'm more of a visual engineer than audio. I rely on others for that, and when I watch a show, it's more the overall the experience, and I'm not like singling out the audio by itself as much as I am just looking for the overall impression of the experience. So that's a good question, and I know a lot of times when we jury these film fests, we're listening to stereo tracks, so it's a little tough, but maybe Tiffany can help out with that. Where we take the 5-1 mix and convert it into a stereo, representation. I don't know.
Yeah, it does feel like cheating sometimes, because we're taking something that's, stereo, and then just putting it using these psychoacoustic principles. You can just hack the way that we hear to create something incredibly new and real feeling.
Yeah. Tom, your turn. Any specific shows, and then I'll give an example, and I'll give some awarded shows from different festivals. But Tom, go for it.
Well, this is a pretty good question, unfortunately, because I don't know exactly what I should say. I remember in 2014, I saw Kraftwerk in Berlin in the Nationalgalerie, and that was amazing because they did immersive audio. After that, we start the production and in immersive audio. I'm traveling a lot to see shows. Recently, I saw also a show at the Broadway, and just to get an idea how the shows sound, and especially musicals are pretty problematic. Speech intelligibility is it's let's say everybody is really focused on that, and the music mostly falls apart. So music is there, okay. So nobody cares really about the music, but just that everybody understand what the actors on stage say. So honestly, I have no really good. Well, yeah, okay. Postcards from Earth in the Sphere was amazing. Sorry, that was amazing. That really was amazing. You too was okay. So very traditional, very traditional. They made one or two effects, but very traditional. I respect this. It's okay, but you could do so much more on the Sphere.
Yeah, yes, very true. And I actually would give the Sphere credit, but if not you too, I had a chance to see the Eagles, which pretty good. But what they did that was really, really fun, and actually this happened at the Sphere as well with the Anima concerts. is they would have either guitar solos or sometimes the vocals come from the top of the dome, and then they would also do usually some camera work where they would take the artist or Joe specifically from the Eagles when he's doing his solos. They would put a picture of him up, and then you would have the solo coming down from you. It was the same with Anima when they had the track with FKA Twigs doing vocals, and she was above you. It was a waterscape type environment. You were underwater, and the artist FKA Twigs was above you, kind of dancing in the water, and her vocals were coming straight down. That was very, very, very cool. And one of those things that, as Tiffany hit on early on, it's that, oh my gosh, there's something behind me, and then you look back and finally realize that that's actually where the performer is, and maybe there's eye candy in front of you, but the real action is happening behind you. Now, these are little fun tricks, especially in domes, that are cool, but in general, I do want to give props to Fulldome UK, the festival, our friends festival that's in Cardiff, and they have a award that's actually the Best Sonic Experience Award. And last year it went to a film called I Spread by Alejandra Rios, which actually, fun thing, if you want to come back, April 10, Alexandra herself will be one of the speakers. And here is her Instagram. You can go ahead and take a little bit of some looks. But this was a show that was actually awarded Best Audio. And quiz to all of the panelists here: who won Best Sound Mix at the Oscars recently? Was it Dune, or was it? I know this is a quick Google search away, but
Grammys, but I don't know Oscars.
yeah, let me do a quick.
And I did put a link in for the Best of Earth Awards, because there's a Best Sonic Experience now in that. And Best of Earth is coming up, what is it, March 25th, I believe. Yes, and there's 6 film festivals, Fulldome Film Festivals have collaborated. Each one picks a juror and nominates a dozen films, and they go into a pot, and then the jurors from the 6 film festivals pick the Best of Earth. So it's kind of unprecedented to have 6 film festivals collaborating. Never seen it before like that, but it is a cool thing. And so we'll see who emerges as the best sonic experience.
Yes, very, very true. That is a free event to attend that takes place via YouTube live stream. And so we invite any attendees here on this and people watching on YouTube that if you do want to watch that awards show taking place live, you can go to bestof.earth, and there will be a link right there. Yes, it's March 25th, and it's global. And yes, Lau, thank you so much for throwing into the chat. I was able to confirm, but yes, Dune Part 2 won, of course, Best Sound Mix. And really seeing that in a Dolby Atmos theater, especially when he's riding the worm, is a special, special treat. There's so much that can be done with just adding a layer up top that really kind of sets things apart. And actually, Tom, this was a previous conversation that we had, I think, at the beginning of the year. Can you talked essentially about in Planetariums, if they want to go a little farther than just a 5-1 mix, all they need to do is add another layer up a little higher. Can you go into detail a tiny bit about that? Just putting speakers and essentially, well, yeah, you take it from here.
Well, yeah, so this is in my presentations. I know the step from we are 5.1, and do we now have to buy 20 or 30 new speakers to become spatial? And the good news is no. You need another layer. One layer is enough. More layers are better because it increases the resolution. It's like in video. And but just putting one layer, and you need minimum 4 loudspeakers at the corners in the layer. This is enough to start your spatial audio adventure in the dome. And what I said, if you have not so much space, or you just want to put 4 loudspeakers more, use better loudspeakers, bigger loudspeakers, and then you will hear it is instantly a totally different experience, especially if you have good spatial content. So just 4 more loudspeakers, however you are 5.1 or 7.1, makes you to a spatial audio site.
I have a question about live performances in the dome. And I think both of you have some real-time processing, but I'm kind of curious about, let's say you have a live band or orchestra or whatever, and you have separate stems coming from the different instruments or whatever. Can that be crafted into some sort of spatial performance in real time?
Absolutely, especially there was a nice thing Ryan mentioned before with the Eagles. So if you, and I mentioned before, if you have a visual cue, then surprisingly, also the crazy stuff works pretty good. So if you hear a guitar solo on the ceiling and you see the guitar player, and in the sphere, everybody is so small on the stage, so you not bring it together. So then you see the guitar player is moving, the image and the audio is moving together. That works pretty good. And the same way you can, of course, work immersive in spatial audio dome with a live performance. So the processor I showed before is real time, very easy to do that. And here again, it is a question of taste and experience as well as kind of music. If you have a classic orchestra, a little chamber orchestra on stage, then you can make it a little bit larger, but you would not put the violin on the left side behind you and the cello on the right side behind you. It's not really making sense. You can put them, let's say, in a pretty good sounding concert hall, for example. Totally different if you have Tangerine Dream in your dome, then you can do more or less everything, because there is, so just the basics has to be plausible, but then you can move a lot with warp sounds, through the room, and also some sound effects here and there. So no problem, I would say. So it's very depending also to the content.
Now, I always wondered what it would be like to sit inside of an orchestra, and in that case, you'd have the visual cues to go with the different sound sources,
Yeah, I would always just caution, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. And again, going back to object versus place-based, right? Like thinking about, okay, I already have a venue. I already have a space that my audience is now, their brain is already rendering this live performance, so just be careful when you're layering too many effects on people, because it is not only taxing, even subconsciously, cognitively taxing, but you can muddy the waters. So unless it's incredibly controlled, that's where I think it's a really cool concept, Ed, don't get me wrong. I would go into it understanding that it is probably a little more complicated than it looks.
Absolutely. And what you're saying applies to visuals as well. And there's not a reason to have the entire dome, working your brain. It can be, cognitive overload.
As well as in the stage, Yeah.
Well, in a live performance, you also have this sort of, I don't know if paradox is the right word, but the dome theater is really an optimal dome theater experience. The lights go out and the theater disappears, and you recreate reality as you want. And it can be a real place. It can be an imaginary place. You could be in the mind of an artist rather than watching them perform from the outside, you know. But when you put a band on a stage, you've now anchored into physical, like you fixed it in a way, and you know, so you know, you have that, like, okay, is this a concert hall with a live band, or is this another reality, you know? And in that sense, I mean, you know, we have a couple shows, Beautifica, Mesmerica, that have done quite well, and those started out as live shows. You know, James Hood was performing live, and it was a concert with visuals. And what we realized is that James Hood was, in some ways, almost a distraction from, because we overproduced the visuals so much that people were just going, "Wow," you know, and so, you know, we realized that you don't actually need the band there live. And I think, right, the Sphere's doing that with U2 now. They have the U2 concert canned. It's a movie, and I've seen some very good reviews of that.
There is something to the idea of a live space and combining the two. And the concept that I absolutely love is the idea that you can take that anchor, that live act, and you can modify the environment. So suddenly they're playing undersea, you know, they're playing in Atlantis for this track, and for the next track it might be a smoky jazz club, and then it feels like you're there with them. You know, you can be at a stadium, but it feels like you're at an intimate, you know, hotel bar with them. So I think that is where we're focused on the place, the surround, not just the object. Because you
Yeah, that's cool. Or they could be standing on a magic carpet that's flying over terrain, you know.
Exactly.
Probably should get to Erica's question. She wanted us to touch on Ambisonics, and it's a format that's come up in recent Dome conferences. And in fact, I'm not sure Atmos is best suited for a spherical environment, whereas Ambisonics maybe is. I don't know if anybody wants to comment on that.
Ambisonics, this is a little bit the same with Atmos. So Atmos, everybody say Atmos, it's 712 or it's 916, and it is just a monitoring format. So they render it to some formats they specify, and this is 4 mainly, or 514 and 914. Ambisonics is same, I must say, same as object-based, the approach, creating a mix who is agnostic. You can render to every loudspeaker configuration. And there is also a method to record ambisonics, but also object-based. Then you have static space microphones, for example. And Ambisonics is yeah, so SAM agnostic, so you can render to a Dolby Atmos 714, but to stereo or 30 loudspeakers. But it also depends on what the order is. So the order of the ambisonic source, and if it is not a very high order, like a small microphone, the Sennheiser microphone with 4 capsules, this is first order. And that means the resolution is not getting better by rendering it on 30 loudspeakers. You could do this, but it doesn't sound better as playing it on 4 loudspeakers. And so there are a lot of things to think about, especially if you record something. And the Ambisonics recording method has a disadvantage that it's not spaced. So it's, let's say, all math, what's going on there. It's not real captured space with crosstalk and reflections from reality. And this is a little bit disadvantaged, but such a small microphone is pretty cool and easy to use. It's not expensive like a big loudspeaker microphone array. And yeah, so I personally not love to go to Ambisonics if I mix in my workstation, because at the end, the Ambisonics has to be decoded or rendered to given channel-based format. And there, for me, ambisonic is a detour because it doesn't make the sound better, just making it ambisonics. And if you have objects, it is same as agnostic as you have ambisonic, and it has the beauty on the reproduction side, you still have the objects. You can do something with the objects. And ambisonics, if you put it into the ambisonic ocean, a source, it's away. It's part of it, but you cannot touch it and do something else on the reproduction side, like make it less loud or position it differently. This is another.
So editing, you can't edit so much.
And this is what I personally not like so much in ambisonics.
So you're better off with stems, is what you're saying.
Yes, you name it stems. I say objects, and stem. It's static. You can say static objects. Depends on what kind of stem you have. So, but yeah. So I prefer to go channel based or object based.
Tiffany, do you have any?
No, go ahead.
What
Right.
Tom said.
Well, I was just going to ask, like if you're working with a musician and doing a mix for them, are they just giving you multiple tracks, with different instruments, and then you're arranging those spatially, or how, or how are you sourcing? Yeah, I'm curious. Or are you just taking whatever Ambisonic or Atmos mix and then converting it into a headphone?
So what's the beauty of what we're doing is that our only goal is to recreate a faithful representation of a real place. So whatever Atmos or Sony 360 RA format they've developed, we don't touch any format or any file. That's what's great about it, is it's completely universal and it's real time. So you can think of it as a black box, any audio in and an immersive version out. And the better, garbage in, garbage out, like great audio in, great audio out. It's just going to have that sense of place, that context that's been missing.
Cool.
Well, yeah, this actually touches a little bit on what we will be approaching in April at our next Fulldome Forum is, from a creator's standpoint, what really unlocks fantastic sound. We've talked about hardware and different kind of implementation efforts between kind of simulating the different environments, understanding how sound sounds best, and then also, Tom, your different processor units that can really help essentially unlock new opportunities at venues. And so really, I guess at this point, it's time to give that shameless plug. Come back. We invite you to come back to our next Fulldome Forum, taking place April 10th. And I think that is just after NAB finishes. So it will be a good time to collect not only good points from different creators that have already been working in immersive audio creation, but also potentially from Tom, some new updates on different software or hardwares that are coming out in the space right now. But at this point, we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. We want to give a huge round of applause to our guests, Tom and Tiffany. If you do want to know more, Ed has posted their details in the chat. And we encourage you to reach out to them on LinkedIn, connect with them further. They're both incredible wells of knowledge and just good people as well. And yes, we do want to continue to promote that our film festival and our Fulldome Forward Expo is taking place at the same time there in Boulder, Colorado at the Fisk Planetarium, May 1 through 4. We invite everyone that is interested in learning more and also experiencing some of the absolute best audio as well as visual presentations in the Full Dome community to join us there. Just go to domefestwest.com to find out more information. But past that, thank you, Tom. Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you, Ed. And most of all, thank you to all the attendees that have joined us and given us questions. We really appreciate it, and we hope to see you all again soon. Have a wonderful rest of your day and evenings. Take care, everyone.